William Blake wrote, "Both read the Bible day and night, but thou readst black, where I read white." Hello once again, I'm Don Jackson. So what do you think? Is the dress yellow and white or black and blue? I'm referring to one of the most popular viral photos in some time on the internet. It's #TheDress, and it's caused all kinds of discussion concerning how we see things differently. I see it as yellow and white, but in other later posts, I see a slight tinge of blue where the white once was. It's also confusing, but if you haven't seen it, I recommend that you go online and take a look at it. Maybe let me know what you think, but for now, I'm more interested in something rather less colorful. What do all these things have in common? Salt and pepper, salt and pepper hair, a newspaper, a Dalmatian, a zebra, a Siberian tiger, a panda bear, and maybe even Mickey Mouse, the original Mickey Mouse. Like some horses, they could all be called piebald. In other words, they are all black and white. This time around, some of the colors in a black and white world, with the heartbeat of the internet. At times, it seems like ours is a world of black and white images. Thomas Babington, Lord Macaulay, in his Sermon in a Churchyard, said, "Soon fades the spell, soon comes the night. Say, will it not be then the same? Whether we played the black or white, whether we lost or won the game." The chessboard is divided into two opposing black and white armies. Crossword puzzles are designed in black and white. Consider a checkerboard too. Early films and photographs were developed in black and white. When television first made its appearance, the images it brought to a world of many contrasting colors were again black and white. It's hard to imagine that our ancestors ever lived in a colorful world when looking at old photos and movies. This time around, a black and white world with the heartbeat of the internet. I found this on a grandmother's website. The world in black and white. You could hardly see for all the snow. Spread the rabbit ears as far as they'd go. Pull up a chair to the TV set. Good night, David. Good night, chat. Depending on the channel you tuned, you got Rob and Laura or Ward and June. It felt so good, felt so right. Life looked better in black and white. I Love Lucy, The Real McCoys, Dennis the Menace, The Cleaver Boys. Rawhide, Gunsmoke, Wagon Train, Superman, Lois Lane. Father Knows Best, Patty Duke, Rin Tin Tin in Lassie 2. Donna Reed on Thursday Night. Life looked better in black and white. I want to go back to black and white. Everything always turned out right. Simple people, simple sights. Good guys always won the fights. Now, nothing is the way it seems in living color or on the screen. I want to go back to black and white. In God we trusted, in bed they slept. A promise made was a promise kept. They never cussed or broke their vows. They'd never make the network now. But if I could, I'd rather be in a TV town in '63. It felt so good, felt so right. Life looked better in black and white. I'd trade all the channels on the satellite if I could just turn back the clock tonight to when everybody knew wrong from right. Life was better in black and white. In the spring and summer, there is a profusion of color on hillsides, in gardens. Even the deep, dark places can't prevent a hint of color from appearing. Winter seems to give us nothing more than a sense that the world is white, and even that is somewhat dull and faded. On one end of the spectrum is white, and at the far side is black. But they are thrust together in many instances with surprising results. The bride most often wears white, while her groom is usually attired in black. Think of the clothes worn by a minister: his black shirt and white collar, a nun's habit, a hotel maid's outfit, or the stark contrast between the white face of a Japanese geisha and her pitch black hair. We drive our cars on blacktop highways between white lines, sometimes when the full moon is set against the black velvet of night. Black and white, it seems, go very well together in an artistic light. White is the color that signifies innocence. Hence, the good guy in the movies was always dressed in white. His nemesis, the bad guy, always wore black. The bad guy even had a name to highlight his dark nature, like Black Bart. But these stark differences are not as distinct as they used to be. Television has portrayed many a South American drug lord in a white linen suit. You might remember the television series Miami Vice. We go to elegant black tie affairs, and black t-shirts go well with white jeans or shorts on holiday in the Caribbean. A liar is often thought to have a black heart, but what about those little white lies people tell from time to time, trying not to offend or hurt another's feelings? Consider this. Eric Sellon, in the book Atlas, published by World Press Review, wrote, and I quote, "In the imagery of African poetry, we find the startling but natural fact that many of the associations of correspondences are the opposite of those most utilized by the white poet. Black is associated with happiness, passion, love, health, and desire, whereas white is the color of weakness, sorrow, death, and oppression." End quote. So it seems that the world isn't as black and white as we first thought. Maybe it's somewhere in between, like a hazy shade of gray. You certainly get enough of gray days in the winter, like that slush on the side of the road after a pristine snowfall. William Ernest Henley wrote, "Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul." Across the top of Montana he drove into North Dakota, and the spare, flat country he found as fascinating as the mountains or the sea. There was a kind of austere beauty to this place, and he stopped several times, set up a tripod, and shot some black and whites of old farm buildings. End quote. Robert James Waller, writing in the bridges of Madison County, and his National Geographic photographer just before his life was to change. As he took photos of the covered bridges, you could almost hear the crossing of a horse in one of those bridges from a different time. Richard N. Livingstone, in an article that was first published in the New York Times on January the 12th, 1981, remembers the contrast between black hair and the moonlight. He writes, and I quote, "Then she turned her face towards me, and I saw the moonlight reflected in her long black hair and soft black eyes, and thought how beautiful she was." This is Incantation by Eleanor Wiley. A white well in a black cave, a bright shell in a dark wave, a white rose, black brambles hood, smooth bright snows in a dark wood, a flung white glove in a dark fight, a white dove on a wild black night, a white door in a dark lane, a bright cord to bitter black pain, a white hand waved from dark walls, in a burnt black land, bright waterfalls. Bill Vaughn said, "Thanks to TV, children now have seen more 1932 movies than their parents." End quote. And it's true. If you're a fan of old movies, then you might remember seeing or hearing about the road movies with Bob Hope and Bing Crosby. What about Some Like It Hot, with Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon trying to get hired to play in an all-girl band and succeeding? I'm finding that a lot of the time that I spend in front of the TV now, I'm watching the black and white movies featured on TCM, Turner Classic Movies, and I must admit that I'm really enjoying getting reacquainted with the classics. The other night I saw To Kill a Mockingbird with Gregory Peck, and it made me remember that I did the described video for that film some years back. I still enjoy the new films with all the technology and special effects available today to filmmakers, but I do like to watch a black and white film from the past, from a time period when the film really depended upon a solid script and powerful acting, and not technical wizardry. There is an Italian proverb that states, "After the game, the king and pawn go into the same box. So do both colors of the opposing playing pieces, usually black and white game pieces. The same with all the crayons of so many different colors. All are put back in the very same box." I hope I've been able to help you see, as George Canning wrote, "And finds with keen, discriminating sight, black's not so black, nor white so very white." Good night, sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.